Hi everyone, miscellaneous here, taking you to yet another offbeat, quirky and interesting tourist attraction. I'm not sure that you'd call where I've been today offbeat, as it stands sentinel high on a hill in the centre of the Isle of Wight. I've been to Carisbrooke Castle, a Norman Motte and Bailey castle dating from 1100. Its commanding position on the island means that it's been very important over the years in the defence of the realm. Come and walk the 71 steps up to the keep with me. Walk around the curtain wall. Come and see where imprisoned King Charles I tried to escape from. And most of all, come and see the castle's famous working donkeys, which really are lovely. Remember, don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the notifications bell. Wear a flower in your hair for unity. Come and take a walk in my shoes and I will see you in the video.
Carisbrooke Castle succeeded a castle which dated back to the Norman invasion of 1066 and was built by Richard de Redvers, who was made Lord of the Isle of Wight by Henry I, who ruled from 1100 till 1135. The castle reverted to the crown when the last of that family died in 1293. Here's our view towards the imposing castle as we trudged up the hill. The castle has been used for defence, as a garrison, as a governor's residence and as a prison. The gatehouse has been the principal entrance to the castle for 900 years and has been much modified during that time. Inside the crumbling structure and the gatehouse probably contained living accommodation for someone important. Gun and medieval slit. This metal staircase was once the entrance to the Isle of Wight Museum, which was founded by Princess Beatrice, who was Queen Victoria's youngest daughter and housed here from 1898 to 1951. The Chapel of St Nicholas, and this particular chapel dates from 1904. A chapel was first mentioned in the Domesday Book of 1086, and a long sequence of chapels with the same name have since stood on roughly this spot. The chapel serves as the Isle of Wight's war memorial, and the names of the 2,000 island men killed in both world wars are inscribed on stone panels between the windows. Painted reredos under fine stained glass windows which show Christ surrounded by the two Marys, cherubim and angels. The wagon roof consists of beautifully painted, colourful panels. This memorial bust of King Charles I sits in the alcove at the west end and is attributed to Italian sculptor and architect Gian Lorenzo Bernini, who lived from 1598 to 1680. Our first proper view of the castle complex. The best part of the day was seeing their famous working donkeys. Here they are in their stable. There are currently 6: Jupiter, Juno, Jigsaw, Jingles, Jack and Jill. The latter two are brother and sister. The tradition of giving the donkeys J names has continued for the last 150 years. Apparently, when imprisoned King Charles I wrote letters or planned his escape route, he always signed his notes with a J. I have no idea which donkey is which, but they were all absolutely lovely. Training the donkeys how to work the treadmill takes up to a year and a half. Donkeys were first recorded as being used to draw water from the well in 1696, although until 1880 only one was kept at the castle. This is how you care for donkeys if you are lucky enough to own them. It was Jack's turn today, and here he is with one of his handlers. The talk she gave was very interesting. Historically, the poor beasts once had to work on the treadmill for up to 16 hours a day. Nowadays, the donkeys are licensed to work for no more than 6 minutes a day. The courtyard well is 49 metres deep and holds water to a depth of 12 metres. It was dug after the well in the keep failed in 1136, and the treadmill used to raise the bucket was probably originally turned by prisoners. Jack is known as the naughtiest and most affectionate of the donkeys, and is something of an escape artist. He will find his way out of anywhere you put him. He successfully raised the bucket from the depths of the well. Come and watch him at work. It is so wonderful.
That's it, next one. That's it, good lad. Good lad. Well done. Good lad. Oh, you popped then. Oh, what a good boy. Walk on then. Good lad. Well done.
Wow. Oh.
Good lad. Good boy. Good lad. Very nice. Nice pace. Good boy. Nice pace. Good boy. That's it. Slow. Good lad. Good boy.
Behind the stables sits the old gunpowder store. The gunpowder was kept below ground. The moat ditch beside the keep was once at least 4 metres deep and was infilled in the 14th century, possibly in 1335, when other improvements were made to the defences. The keep is accessed by 71 steep steps up the moat and may once have been used as accommodation. The keep was the ultimate refuge of the castle. View down, and you had to be careful ascending and descending these. Whilst strong and sound, the steps are of varying heights. This keep well appears to be original, and may be the failed well which ran dry in 1136. Water supply is a real problem on this chalk hilltop. The well was dug to a depth of at least 48 metres, which is the current depth to reach water. Garderobe. That's a carsy to us modern day folk. View down from the curtain wall, and the fact that the well ran dry meant that Baldwin de Redvers, who was a supporter of Henry I's daughter Matilda, had to surrender the castle to King Stephen in 1136, during the civil war of that time. His family did not regain control until 1153. The view down the keep, overlooking the curtain wall. The view down over Carisbrooke. The superdene is the red figure at the end, and this view takes in Carisbrooke Cemetery. The road we'd walked up to access the castle. The building at the back right houses Bowling Green apartment where you can stay. Prices start at £400 in the low season for a 3-night break. From this height, the castle grounds look like a little self-contained village. The well house is the dinky-looking building at the front of the photo. You can see the stables from here, and opposite them is the southeast range, which nowadays houses the tea room and the education centre. Remember to check out my blog. There is much more information on there, plus also details of other places I visited in the Isle of Wight, and also my hovercraft journey over. Patchwork Fields, and don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe, and click on the notifications bell, if you please. Village view, and could that be the Solent in the distance? Arrow loop, and I think this picture is simply perfect. The bowling green was once earthworks outside the castle, added during refortifications in 1587. Their purpose was to provide additional protection against gunfire. It was refashioned into a bowling green to provide entertainment for the imprisoned King Charles I. This is the southeast bastion. The cannon on the two bastions are 19th century naval guns, given to the castle in the 20th century. The northeast bastion. Carey's mansion, and George Carey was a cousin of Elizabeth I, and she appointed him captain of the island in 1583. He built his mansion to provide accommodation befitting his rank and household. Built between 1584 and 1586, it is an extension and modification of the constable's lodging. Carey remained captain until his death in 1604. Original fireplaces survive at both ends of what was once possibly a long gallery used for exercise and recreation. I just had to stick my head up the chimney. The Privy Garden dates back to the 12th century. From the 17th century, it was a garden for governors and captains and became Princess Beatrice's private garden in 1913. The Princess Beatrice Garden view from the curtain wall and a better view of Bowling Green apartment at the centre back. Princess Beatrice's husband, Prince Henry of Battenberg, was made governor of the island after their 1885 marriage. After Henry's death in 1896, Beatrice succeeded him in this role. This statue is by Philip Blacker and shows Isle of Wight bred World War I General Jack Steely astride his horse, Warrior. Little Nook and the last deputy governor of the island died in 1913, and Beatrice decided to take up residence at the castle. Rickety stairs, and up until then she'd been living above the Durbar room at nearby Osborne House. More stairs which go nowhere. Beatrice was in residence mainly in the summer, and this period is still remembered by some islanders. The Edwardian-inspired garden as we see it was designed in 2009 and is based on the original layout. The garden is divided into quarters with a fountain at its centrepiece and plants which reflect the spirit of the ages. Sometimes I can take a stunning photograph that's just right. Now is one of those times, even with the Super Dean invading my shot. A decorative palm tree, and Beatrice's standard flew over the keep when she was in residence for 25 years, until 1938. Winter flowers, and Princess Beatrice died in Sussex in 1944. King Charles I was brought here as a prisoner for 10 months, from 1647 to 1648. He was allowed relative freedom at first, but then tried to escape 3 times. The second attempt would have been from this area, where bedrooms had been built by George Carey some 60 years earlier. He was betrayed by his 2 guards. They had taken money to help him escape, and then they cruelly turned him in. This is Countess Isabella's window. Isabella de Fortibus was one of the greatest landowners in England at a time when it was uncommon for a woman to hold such power. As well as inheriting her husband's lands, she also inherited the estates of her brother, Baldwin de Redvers, and held on to everything, including this castle, until her death in 1293, when she sold her lands on to Edward I. She made many transformations to the castle, including this great chamber for herself. It had glazed windows, a luxury at the time. Since 1951, Carisbrooke Castle Museum has sat in what was once the Great Hall, and the lower gallery is devoted to the history of Carisbrooke Castle. Here is a model showing what the castle once looked like. Chainmail attire, and there is a lot to see in this museum. My photos only touch on a small part of the collection. I have included more in my blog though, so do go over and look at it. As I've said before, I will always be a writer before anything else. The gallery tells the story of the castle through 6 of its most famous residents. This cabinet is devoted to George Carey. Elaborate walking stick in Charles I's cabinet. Plaster maquette of the Princess Elizabeth monument. She was Charles I's daughter, and she was brought here in 1650 following his execution. She died aged 14, only weeks after her arrival, from a chill. Henry, Duke of Gloucester, Charles's 3rd son, was also brought here. He was 10, but was allowed to join his family in exile in 1653. The old staircase leading to the constable's solar in the attached constable's lodging. The constable was an important administrative official. These delightful little fellows are gargoyles taken from a local demolished church. Beautiful stained glass as we approached King Charles's bedroom. Once the constable's solar, a private apartment away from the bustle of daily life at the castle, it became the room King Charles made his first escape attempt from. The king's bed would have looked something like this. On the night of March the 20th, 1648, he attempted to shimmy through this window, but became wedged between the bars. We moved on to the Ashburnham collection, which sits inside a room just off this, with objects passed down through the family of John Ashburnham. He was a loyal and most trusted courtier and treasurer. This is a locket containing a piece of King Charles's hair, encased in a glass and gold pendant. It was taken from his coffin when his tomb was excavated and his body exhumed in 1813. Nice. This room houses some of the king's personal possessions, including rare surviving examples of early Stuart court textiles, which he used until his execution. King Charles I, who lived from 1600 to 1649, was beheaded at the Palace of Whitehall in London. The upper gallery section is called Island Stories. This is a Roman Janus head with two faces looking in opposite directions. He was worshipped at beginnings, that being weddings, births and planting, etc. I just thought the facial expression resembled me in a bad mood. A toy cabinet, and up here are also cabinets devoted to wartime, school days and contemporary collecting. You want to see them? Go to my blog. Here is a set-in Victorian doll's house, and next to it a list of objects for you to hunt and find inside the house. Of course, being a shoe fetishist, I just had to take a photo of the shoe cabinet. Thank you for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. Ta-ta for now.
Come and join me soon for another miscellaneous adventure. Remember to stick a flower in your hair for unity, men included. Don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on that notifications bell.